you are obviously putting this report together. You've got bags of experience, over 2 decades worth of experience in this industry. And with these new market research, non-traditional market research companies coming in, although they're non-traditional, they still obviously have something fantastic to offer. What do you think that's rooted in? Do you think that's rooted in some kind of special understanding, a method of reaching out to people, a method of using different technologies? What do you think they are bringing to the table to traditional market research?
Well, I think what's really going on here is that, and I get asked the question several times a year, that says, in my time in the industry, what do I think are the biggest changes that have taken place?
Right.
Well, the single biggest change that's taken place is that in 1995, when I started, if you or I had developed, for instance, your new gaming capability, and had tried to market it in the research industry, you would have probably found some interest at Procter & Gamble, probably also at General Mills, unlikely anywhere else. Certainly no research agencies would be interested.
Right.
And in those days, 21 years ago, P&G and General Mills would have tested your capability, but they would also have you sign a disclosure or non-disclosure agreement that would have said that you can't tell anybody that you worked with us. You can't tell anybody what the results were.
Right.
But you'll know for yourself whether your idea works or not. Let's fast forward to today. You're probably finding a great deal of interest and probably buy-in from any number of people who will look at it and say, wow, that's a really different way of trying to get at getting research questions answered. Yeah. And the internet has really been the motivating factor that has changed the research industry from one that was very staid and very stagnant and very resistant to trying anything new, to an industry today where there are limitless opportunities to introduce something that's new and different. And in fact, when you contacted us about our market research toolbox report, and you just used the word gaming, my mind immediately went to gamification. And you had to stop me and explain to me, no, I'm not talking about that. And when I just looked at what you're actually doing with research, you really are doing something that is enormously cutting edge and that I have no doubt is going to find, a market. Now, that all fits into our toolbox idea.
Yeah.
Because your task becomes, okay, you need to explain to prospective users what's the best place and the most opportunistic situation to use what you're proposing. Not going to fit in all situations, but it is going to be probably an important additional contributor to the market research toolbox, which keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah. So I think what we're touching on here, which isn't so obvious from this conversation, but clearly the new players that are coming from outside of market research into new market research is very much focused on the qualitative. It's harnessing the internet, giving us lots and lots of possibilities. So do you feel that there is a slower pace of change with face-to-face research in terms of innovative new techniques? Because I personally don't see it accelerating as fast as online, but you might have a different perspective on how perhaps other organisations might be coming into qualitative research and introducing something new.
I think you shortchange yourself when you compare yourself against online, because that's like, comparing a little war breaking out in the middle of Africa somewhere with a world conflagration.
Yeah.
Okay? Online has completely changed the research world. Most people now look at online as traditional.
Yeah.
Remember, 15 years ago, online was scary, frightening, intimidating, and yet all traditional researchers who had basically been writing it off as not worth their time were suddenly put in a situation where they felt, because their clients told them, you get into online or I'm going to go talk to somebody else who will get me online.
Right.
So I don't think that what you're talking about is a fair comparison. Nor do I believe that you think long term that you're going to threaten, online, panel research in your size and your scope. But
No.
but some things like you do, and others, and there are many, many others out there. They're constantly popping out of the woodwork. Are really providing a new and better means of getting research answers. And the reason why I really stress it and why we started to do this report that we're going to release is that I believe that we've been stuck again as an industry in our project work. I think even the biggest full-service agencies essentially have a cookie-cutter list of solutions. And maybe there's 10 of them, and maybe there's 15 of them. But essentially, they'll sit down with a client, I believe, and the client will say, okay, here's what we're trying to find out, and that sort of thing. And the client-facing person from the big research agency will say, is this a better fit with our solution number 3 or our solution number 12?
Right.
And the idea behind what you're doing and what our booklet, the Toolbox Report, can provide is basically obliterate those cookie-cutter solutions and look at each project on a unique one-on-one basis and say, okay, what's the best qualitative and what's the best quantitative tools that we should apply in order to get the best possible results, the widest possible results, and the best conclusions that we'll come to.